these pop-ups. I'm trying to get started, and as soon as I go live, YouTube starts giving me pop-ups. Like I want pop-ups when I'm trying to go live. Can I do this? No, I can't do that. All right, I got to change this orientation on the. All right, I promise you guys. I promise I'm gonna get better at this stuff. Can you see me? All right, yeah, you can see me. Hi, welcome back to America's Funniest Handyman. Says America's Funniest Handyman here. Laugh and learn with America's Funniest Handyman. If I had the theme song available, I would play it for you right now. So welcome back to my second Sunday in a row going live, talking to you about what I'm doing with this house that I just bought. So I just bought a fixer-upper. If you want to go back to last week's episode, you can see the entire house. I did a 10-minute, really fast tour of the entire property and reviewed some of the things that that I think need to be fixed, some of the things I want to fix. I am toying with the idea of calling this flipping my house. But we're going to come up with we're going to come up with a solidified title sometime in the next few weeks. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to comment and let me know. The whole purpose of this live check-in / vlog every week is to talk to you about what I got done this week, what I'm planning on doing next week. I'm also I have a list of things that I want to cover. I don't want to cover a ton of stuff, but I do want to keep it a little bit entertaining. I mean, it is America's Funniest Handyman, so I'm definitely going to be talking to you guys about the things that I'm doing, giving you some helpful hints and teaching you. But I also want to keep it a little bit interesting, so I'm going to do a job site story, tell you a funny, interesting story about something that has happened to me on a job site throughout the years. And I'm also going to try and talk to you about any things that I learned this week, things that, new tools. I have a couple of new tools that are new to me that I want to talk about. But first, I think it's probably best if I give you a tour of what I did this week. I want to show you guys around and show you some of the things that I got done this week. So come along with me. We're going to start right here in the basement. That's why I'm sitting in the basement, because if you looked at the video last week, there was a wall along here. That wall is gone. You can see it divided these two different rooms. There was, the floor has been patched where those walls disappeared. There was a large storage cabinet over here underneath the stairs. That is gone. If you remember, also, there was a big wall here, right along there, and there was another wall right here. Those walls are gone, and the floor has been patched as best as possible so that we could get moving. The washing machine was right here in this, against this wall, almost in front of, and the sink was in front of the window, and the dryer was also off over there in no man's land for some reason. So anyway, we moved all of that. When I say we, I didn't do, this week I got a lot done. And I say we got a lot done because I was not by myself this week. I paid some guys to come in and help me, some fellow handyman, my friend Aiden, who is from Delaware County, and he's a young handyman in his early 20s. He did a lot of work for me this last week. And my good friend Andon Heinberger of Keystone Handyman Solutions. He is a badass plumber, and he did all of this cool plumbing for me in order to move the washer and the dryer and the sink. The toilet stayed where it was, but this whole area got reconfigured to move all of those utilities to the back wall, which now leaves this giant space back here in the basement, and it's kind of a blank slate. So I'm not doing anything with it yet, but I am going to do stuff with it in the future. But I did want to get it cleared out because for the time being, it's going to be a large storage area until I get the rest of the house together. Back here in this wall, there were a bunch of shelves on this back wall. We removed that so that I can put some storage shelves back in here. So this will remain a utility area, but just look at how clean Andon's plumbing is. It just looks all so great. And in order to ventilate the dryer, we put a new line up, and then I went outside. I'm going to show you where I came out for the new dryer vent. Come out here next to the window. Above the window, there's my new dryer vent. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Isn't it cute? It's, I had to go through some stucco and a couple of layers of cinder block in order to make that happen, but it was well worth it because, like I said, as you come in the door, you can see how big this basement is, and it's going to end up turning into a nice finished space where my teenagers can come and stay in between places to live. My cousin Charlie could come stay down here, and then I think eventually I may turn it into a rental, a nice studio apartment that I can rent out and get some income from. Okay, we are in the kitchen where I'm not doing anything. The kitchen's okay, you know, kitchen's pretty good. I don't do a lot of cooking, so I don't need to expand it. I will do the kitchen someday, but just not now because it's not that important. We are now in the dining room, the little dining room, where I removed, it's hard to tell, but I did remove a chair rail molding from along these walls here, and I'm starting to spackle over that. Getting the ceiling ready for paint. I'm not sure if you can tell, but if you look up there, I've already cut in the ceiling white that I'm going to be painting these ceilings. The whole house is currently semi-gloss white, which I don't particularly care for. Sorry, my daughter's trying to call me right now while I'm live. So I'll have to talk to you later. So, yeah. So I didn't like the semi-gloss white everywhere. Sorry, my daughter keeps calling me while I'm on the phone. Okay, maybe she'll stop calling me. All right, so now we are in the giant living room. So I'm going to be painting these ceilings. And I will tell you about...
When I want to eat it, I'm going to eat it up.
Okay. Sorry about the interruptions. I'm going to have to go... I don't know how to do this. I'm learning. This live Sunday thing is going to get better and better, more improved every week. But anyway, like I was saying, I want to paint all these ceilings. You can see how shiny the ceilings are. I don't want them that shiny. I want a flat white paint on there. But when I started to get ready to paint the ceilings, I realized that somebody had painted these ceilings quite a few years ago. And when they painted the house and the ceilings, there was a lot of failing paint, a lot of paint that was actually like chipping off of the walls. And instead of getting rid of all of that stuff and then patching and then painting, they just painted right over the chipping paint. And what happens when you do that is all those paint chips get into your roller, and the paint chips end up on the wall, and then they end up getting covered in paint, and then somebody painted over it, and then somebody painted over it. So there was a lot of weird stuff sticking down from the ceilings, and it's also on the walls too. So I had to do a lot of scraping and a lot of sanding to get these ceilings back to being flat, a flat surface, so that I'm not another person in line that's painting over a problem, because those problems just keep coming through the next layer and the next layer. So I had to chip off a lot of old stuff, do some spackling. As you can see, there's a lot of little spackle patches here and there, but the ceilings are now ready for paint. I also covered up a I covered up some old weird holes that were on the side of the fireplace. I've also removed all of the old radiator covers. I call them radiator covers because I'm from California, but everybody in Philadelphia calls them radiators. So I removed the radiator covers, which are all sitting right there, because the radiator covers were hiding a multitude of sins. As you can see, a bunch of dark spots and chip paint. So I got to fix everything before it goes back. But my goal is to get the 3 bedrooms, the dining room, and the kitchen and the living room painted before we move in about a week and a half. So this room also, all the bedrooms upstairs got lights, courtesy of my good friend Matt. I won't say his last name because he's shy and he doesn't like me talking about him too much. But anyway, Matt, you can see there's 2 new recessed lights up here. There's one there and there's one there. And they're pulled down right now because I'm painting around them. But when they're up in the ceiling, they make the room look really nice. Doesn't that look sharp? So the 3 bedrooms upstairs all got new recessed lights because Matt is a badass electrician. I am very fortunate. I know a really good plumber. I'm also a good plumber, but Andon is top notch. Andon's like a master plumber. And my friend Matt that's doing the electricity, I also do electric, but Matt is a master electrician. He knows everything there is to know, and he's super fast. And I think I showed you this last week, but I put in a new set of attic stairs. Oops. I put in a new set, and the rope came out, so I'll have to retie that knot so that it's a little bit bigger. But I put in a new set of attic stairs. This week I trimmed it out, and I'm doing the same thing in all of these bedrooms. I'm fixing the ceilings and the walls so that I can paint everything and have it nice and flat. And I think that covers everything that I got done this week. I did some of the work, and my boys, they did some of the work. I don't know if I showed you, but I also put some new light sconces on the outside. I got to get a new light for that one over there, but that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I fixed all these old vents. I painted these vents with white paint and made them look nicer, had them blend in a little bit. So let's go back down to the basement and I'll show you the new tools that I discovered this week. Tools that are new to me. They're not necessarily, oops, I gotta turn the light on. These are tools that may be new to me, but they might not be new to you. If you're watching my channel, you're probably kind of a beginner. Let's see here. All right. Okay, first tool. I told you I needed to scrape those ceilings. And if you're scraping an entire house worth of ceilings, you don't want to be up there with a small scraper going like this all day, because you'll be up there going like this for days and days. So I went and got myself a floor scraper. Look at that. Ooh. So with this, I don't even have to get on the ladder that much. I did get on the ladder a little bit, but I'm able to scrape big, giant areas back and forth in a fraction of the time that I would with a smaller scraper, or even the same size scraper just by hand. If ever you're doing something that requires like rolling paint, sanding, if you can put whatever it is that you're using on the ceiling on a pole, it can make everything go faster. So this saved me hours scraping those ceilings. I also have several headlamps. I have quite a few headlamps, but I just got a headlamp, a new one that I really like, and I'm going to highly recommend it. I'm not making any money off any of this stuff. at this point, my channel is not yet monetized. Maybe someday I will get compensated for helping you guys learn how to work on your houses. But this week I picked up this Klein. It's made by Klein Tools. I picked up this Klein headlamp. It's rechargeable, and the lights last a long time. It's got several different settings: red, white, several different. Anyway, I often use headlamps when I'm working in areas where I don't have enough light, because I don't want to be, I want my both hands free while I'm working, and I always want enough light to do what I'm doing. So if I'm doing small detail, ornate work, I want to be able to see it. If I'm working on those ceilings, I need to see like kind of how the light's reflecting off of it, so I know exactly what I'm doing. And then the last tool I want to review with you guys, this really isn't a new tool. I have avoided using what this is called hot mud. Okay, so this comes in different levels. Like this is a powder that you mix with water and it becomes joint compound. Joint compound is what you use to do your walls and your ceilings and stuff like that. And typically I use the buckets of joint compound. But this week, my friend Aiden, another handyman, was working here, and he uses what we call hot mud all the time. It's called hot mud because when you mix it, it dries really quickly. This stuff supposedly dries in 20 minutes after you put it on the building. They have 45-minute mud, 90-minute mud. I think they maybe even have like 5 or 10-minute mud. Anyway, so you mix this in a trough. And then because it dries quickly, you only have a certain amount of time to work with it before it dries right in your trough, okay? The reason I'm putting this down as a new tool this week is because it's been years since I tried using this stuff. And the last couple times I used it, it seemed like more trouble than it was worth. But this week, Aiden talked me back into using hot mud. And the reason that he was able to talk me back into it isn't just because it dries faster. This stuff actually sets up and cracks way less when you're trying to fill big gaps and big areas. So I had a bunch of window wells upstairs, windowsills that had a lot of paint missing from them, like big chunks where there were big voids, and it's hard to get mesh tape back in there. And Aiden was like, dude, you got to use the hot mud. You got to use the hot mud. And I'm like, fine. And then he told me, no, it's way stronger. It's a lot stronger. And that's something nobody ever told me. I always thought just using hot mud meant that it would dry faster. Like if you put it on a thick spot, it'll dry in an hour and then you can paint it. And I'm always like, well, I'm going to be here tomorrow, so why do I care if it dries today? I can just finish it tomorrow. So it's not just that it dries quickly, it actually sets up and dries a lot harder. And it did. I was able to fill all those big gaps on the windowsills and it didn't crack at all. And if I had tried to put a green lid or purple lid joint compound on those areas in that thick of a spot, that stuff always cracks and opens up. So I'm a big fan of the 20-minute mud, the hot mud. All right. That's my, that covers the tasks from last week. What I want to get done this week is literally, this week, all I'm focused on is getting painted. I need to get those rooms painted so that I can start moving stuff into them in about a week and a half. I have to be out of my old house, which I'm renting. I have to be out of that house by January 31st, 2026. And right now it's January 11th. The Eagles are playing the Niners today. I grew up in Northern California, but I've lived in Philadelphia for 20 years now. So I'm an Eagles fan and a Niners fan. Not really looking forward to watching that game because I got to root against one of the teams I like. So either way, I think if I had to pick, like if I don't gamble on anything, but if I had to put money on Niners versus Eagles today, I would put my money on the Eagles because the Niners are really beat up. But that's a side note. That's why I'm also doing this now, because the game is going to come on in about an hour. I think like 4:20 or something like that. Okay, so that's it. Next week, my goal is to get painted. My friend Matt will be here to finish some more electric. He's going to put in some more recessed lights up in the living room. And that's it. I just really need to get painted. There's a million things that I would like to do to this house. There's a million things I'm going to do to this house. But one of the things that I would like to reiterate, it's something that I preach about all the time on my longer videos where I'm instructing people, is patience. You gotta have patience, not just in the short term, but even with long-term goals. You have to have patience. Like, it's easy for me to get in my head and be worried, get my panties in a bunch, nutted up, as they say, about what's not happening, right? About what hasn't happened yet. Maybe I'm ruminating about the things that I wanted to have done by now, but they're not done yet. They're not done like I wanted them done. So if you go back in my videos, you'll see there's a video I did on how to have patience for the DIY process. And this week I had to remind myself of one of the most important lessons out of the 5 lessons that I teach in that, which is don't make up arbitrary dates in your head about when things need to get done. Like, because they're always arbitrary. Like, I wanted to put up crown molding upstairs. But then when I realized how much prep work I had to do to the walls and ceilings, I'm not going to get that crown molding up before I move me and my daughters in here. I'm just going to be lucky to get painted. I wanted to get the bathroom lights and medicine cabinet finished. But guess what? All the prep work that I had to do for the walls and the ceiling took up way more time than I thought. So I had to be flexible in my own head with my own timeline so that I'm not walking around frustrated and pissed off that the crown molding's not, that the bathroom isn't done, that this isn't done, that this isn't done. Like, those were all arbitrary, made up deadlines in my head in the first place. So I'm certainly not going to walk around worrying about that stuff. I'm just going to do the next thing that I can do. I am only a one-man show. I had a couple guys in here last week, but my funds are almost gone for that. So I'm pretty much on my own from here on out as far as redoing this whole house is concerned. So if you're interested in watching me transform this house over the next year, over the next 2 years, I'll try to make it entertaining, but it's going to be a really good learning experience for you as to how much 1 or 2 people, if you're a couple, can get done at any given time, and not to be anxious and worrisome about how quickly it needs to get done. Like, I'm going to do the best I can to turn this house over and turn it into something that a more of a craftsman home that I would like, but it's going to take a while. But every week I'm going to do something to it, and every week I'm going to teach you guys what I did and give you a few helpful tips on how I did it. Story time, job site story time. I want to tell you guys a quick story about something that happened to me on the Comcast tower when I was in the electricians union almost 10 years ago. 2016, we were building the Comcast tower in Philadelphia. I guess it was 2017 by the time this story happened. But so I was in electrical communications. I was running phone lines, data lines, coax cable all over that building, floor by floor. As the building got completed, we would move up. By the time this story happened, the building was like 80% completed. There are, in buildings, large construction buildings like that, they have elevator operators, okay? And this is a story, about how I got kicked off of the elevator. Now, I got kicked off of those elevators. If you were to get anywhere on a construction site like that, you need the elevators. If you're going 50 flights up, You're not going to take 2 buckets and 4 cartons of data cable up 50 flights of stairs. You need the elevators. And I got kicked off of the elevators in the Comcast tower because I farted near the elevator. I wasn't on the elevator when I let one out. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it's a cautionary tale. Like, don't pass gas anywhere near an elevator, because if the doors open up and you want to get on, guess who's getting on the elevator with you? Yeah, that's right. So I'm waiting. It's after lunch. I'm waiting down by and it's right after lunch, because my lunch was staggered. So I would take my lunch later than everybody else, finish my lunch a little later than everybody else. So by the time I got to the loading dock was empty. There wasn't anybody there. And I had a bunch of beer and sausage and peppers and stuff like that the night before, and ice cream, chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. So things were percolating. And I'm walking past the elevator down in this large, huge, empty loading dock area. And I just let one go, thinking I'm going to have to sit here for another 5 or 10 minutes and wait for the elevator anyway. But the elevators opened up right then and there. And so, not thinking anything of it, I got on the elevator. And a couple other guys came running down the loading dock going, "Hey, hold that elevator." So he asks me where I'm going. I'm going up to the 52nd floor. He starts to take me. And a few floors go by and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And everybody's covered. "Oh my God," the makeshift gas mask, the shirt gas mask. Everybody's using the shirt gas mask. But there's 4 of us in the elevator, and the elevator operator and the other guys are chuckling about this. They're like, "Oh, come on, man, this is terrible. We're stuck in here." And the elevator operator is like, "Come on, man. One of you guys has got to tell me one of you guys has got to cop to this, admit what happened." So I said, stupidly, naively, my intention was to say, I'm sorry, it was me, but it happened before I got on the elevator. But before I could even explain all that, as soon as I raised my hand and said it was me, the guy came over, got in my face, told me to get the F off his elevator, stopped the elevator, and kicked me off. So he kicks me off of the elevator. Luckily, it's at my floor. And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, is anybody going to believe me? What am I going to... Did that really just happen? I mean, I literally couldn't believe that had just happened. I thought that we were on good rapport. We were joking around about what had happened, but he was dead serious. So at the end of the day, when it was time for everybody to go down the elevators, I got back on the elevator thinking that I got on a different elevator going down to leave the building. And about halfway down, somebody ratted me out from behind and pointed to me. And the guy that was the head of all the elevator operators. Now, one part that I missed is the guys that were running the elevators on the Comcast tower at that time were a bunch of ex-convicts, like I think it was local 542, the operating engineers. And so the operating engineers are already notorious for having a lot of hard guys that work for them. But these were the guys that couldn't get hired anywhere else. These were the last guys to get hired off of the bench. These guys were hardcore mean, loving the fact that they could control people. So we're halfway down. Guy rats me out. Guy stops the elevator with about 30 people in the elevator and walks up to me and goes, "Yo, man, you the one that farted on the elevator earlier today?" And I tried to do the same thing, try to tell him what happened, but all that got out was, "Yes, but," and then he's like, "Get off my elevator." So I had to get off the elevator. And my name was plastered all over those elevators. 2 fortunate things happened. One is I spent the next week taking the stairs. So I dropped about 5 or 10 pounds, which was nice. I was kind of heavy at the time. And the other thing was a whole nother bay of elevators opened up that same exact week that we all had card passes to. Didn't need the elevator operators anymore. But anyway, that's your job site story for today. I hope you enjoyed this tour of my house and what we got done. This is only going to continue to improve as I learn how to do this. And I will have guests from time to time, but until I have my first guest, every Sunday, you're going to be stuck with me and this guy. And that's about it. Thanks for joining me again on America's Funniest Handyman for Tommy Highland Flips His Own House. All right, we'll see you next week. Go Eagles, go Niners.